to be able to expand our ministry inside and outside of our church walls. The desire was never to build to receive more members. It's to build to do more ministry to change the world. God gifted us the land that we needed to make it happen. A few years ago, while talking with the architects and the designers, it became apparent that in order to fulfill that vision, it would affect 22 families who live in the residences just here south of the church. And I want to be honest with you that caused a lot of prayerful concern in leadership, because those are families, those are people, those are mothers and fathers and children. And we are not some corporate developer who's trying to make millions of dollars building townhomes in this city. We care about people. We didn't see how we could do this, and so we began to pray, because we wanted to do things in a way that honored God. So for over 2 years, we've been praying and planning and investigating to develop a plan that over a 4-year period does not force any resident out of their home, but rather offers them adequate, if not upgraded, still affordable housing within the local area that they can make a decision to move into or not. And we've even made a commitment to the elderly to keep them in Old Town West in some of the other housing that we have, so that they don't have to move after having been here some 20, some 30 years. We believe that that was the compassionate answer from the Lord. And so we scheduled a meeting this past Thursday to sit down with those residents, because they had heard rumoring of what we were going to do. And we wanted to show our Christian compassion and hear their concerns and give them truth rather than misinformation. On the day of the meeting, Thursday, an article dropped in the Alexandria Gazette that, in my opinion, was incomplete and irresponsible. The title of the article was "The Making of a Mega Church." The article interviewed a disgruntled, affluent homeowner who does not want Alfred Street to grow and to build. If you haven't read it, you can when you get home. The homeowner suggested that all we do is cause parking problems. That's all we do. Said that we are poor parkers, that we bump into cars and we squeeze in. I said, he ain't talking about our street because we drive Mercedes. Ain't nobody bumping no Mercedes. Ain't scratching up my Lexus. There was accusations levied against the church that were unfounded and untrue, suggesting some underhanded deal with a bike share program to have rental bikes on our property. Nobody want no bikes on there. Nobody ride no bike to church. How in the world I want some bikes? Somebody even quoted and said that our church we try to build is a monstrosity. Inflammatory language. And the article made me mad. I grabbed copies of it, brought it to the office, and slammed it down on everybody's desk. I said, read this. And I was upset because accusations were made that were unfounded. I was upset because the only one really interviewed in the residence was an affluent homeowner across the street, but never was an attempt made to interview the actual residents of color who are on this side of the street that will be affected by the bill. You can't tell a right story only interviewing the folk with money. Now I got mad. Yes, I did. I had to go home and pray about it. I was mad because you can't tell me it was coincidence that it dropped on the same night that we had a meeting with the residents, intentionally meant to inflame them with issues that were unfounded and untrue. We already knew we were going to have some questions, and now it's even worse by the article. So I went home to pray. When I came back, Rosette gave me a letter of a petition of some other homeowners who had written a letter to myself, deacons, and the trustees, and they said that we want your church to be aware, so I'm going to read you what they said. We are galvanizing, community and citywide, to publicly and persistently oppose your building because the church you desire to build does not belong in this neighborhood. Ten, 9. And we've been in meetings where there were those who sat at the table and said to us, you all don't belong here any longer. You need to move out to Manassas. And I just want to tell you what I told them so that I'm not misquoted. This land that this church sits on was purchased by slaves in 1855. And I'd be good and daggone if we ever give up land that our forefathers and our foremothers gave of their best so that there could be a black presence in this city. We were here before those homes were even built, and ain't nobody going nowhere. Talking about y'all need to move. You move. We'll be at 8 services before I think about moving to Tribune. So we knew it's going to be a bad meeting. Because now media is going to show up. Those who've read it are inflamed, false accusations, and I'm mad. I know you want to be holy, but I'm mad. I told Rosette, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm going to that meeting tonight. I'm a Donald Trump folk. I'm going in there Trump. I'm just Trump. No, you know, life will push you there. Life will push you there. Ain't nobody going to be nice and say what I feel like saying. And then my phone rang. Show you how God works. Bishop John Borders called me. Now, if you don't know who John Borders is, he's preached for us before. Pastors the Morning Star Baptist Church up in Boston, Massachusetts. He's one of my spiritual mentors. He's probably the only person on earth that could call me and tell me the Lord gave him a word for me and I received it. You know, you can't listen to everybody tell you what the Lord told you. You'll mess yourself up. John Borders called and he asked me how I was doing. I said, Bishop, I'm all right. I began to tell him about the building project, 22 residents. Began to tell him about the meeting having, the article dropping, the petition standing against us. And this is what he said to me. He said, son, stand still. I don't want to hear that. I'm channeling my Donald Trump. I ain't nobody trying to hear that. He said, son, did you think you would build without opposition? He said, there are members of your church who don't even want you to build. Raise your hand. Raise. This is what he said. He said, son, listen. He said, listen to me as your father in ministry. He said, the meeting is going to be rough. He said, God's going to show up, but not at first. You have to stand still and endure what you're about to go through. That's when the sermon was birthed, in that moment. Because Borders was telling me, endure it, don't be vengeful, stay Christ-like, and he said, and watch for God to show up. So let me tell you what happened Thursday. We called a meeting. 60-plus residents showed up, including the 22 who'll be affected by the move. And when the meeting started, things were a little tense. Questions were being asked. Comments were being made. People wanted to know what was happening. What is the church's plan? And we've heard this and we've heard that. And we have prayerfully made the decision as leaders to just stand, be compassionate, and be honest. So I took the microphone and I began to speak to the residents to tell them about our plan. How over the next 4 years, nobody's forced out. That we're trying to develop opportunities that are equal, if not upgraded, that's still affordable, to be certain that you stay in the neighborhood you want to raise your children in. That our elderly will be able to stay in this area. That we'll do everything we can within our means, even at our own expense, to be certain that these families are treated with Christ-like compassion. And y'all, midway through that meeting, God showed up. Because what started as heated questions transitioned into testimonies from the residents who are going to be affected about how blessed their lives have been by this church. Can I brag on God for a minute? An African sister stood up with almost tears in her eyes, and she said, my family has been blessed by this church. My kids go to tutoring for free every Monday. Every Christmas, we have gifts under our tree from the church. Every Thanksgiving, we eat a meal that the church has provided. Every school year, they get book packs with all supplies and coats to wear. In spring break, they watch movies at the church. And when our lights were going to be shut off, the church paid the bill for me and my family. Brothers getting up, declaring how blessed they've been by the church and how we've always gone above and beyond. And the 22 residents will be affected. Not one complained about what was happening. They were grateful that the church had taken the lead and was serious about being compassionate and helping them rather than forcing them out. Not one complained. I ain't done. Can I brag on God? After the meeting was over, the reporter hang around who wrote the article and wanted to talk to me about my feelings about it and be certain that there was balance and understand where I was upset. Don't tell me what God can't do. That God will work on the hearts of those who are trying to harm you and use them to turn things around in your favor. God will show up. Can I brag on God? I ain't done. The next day, we got an email from another group of homeowners who were not opposed to the building, who said, thank God for Alfred Street in this whole town, that you all have been kind and hired extra security to make certain that people don't block our please don't park in folks' driveways. That we've given out salt, that we've shoveled snow, that we've invited them in, that we gave them passes to get through the traffic when the president was here, and they began to brag about how blessed they were and that they were not in opposition to us, but that they were homeowners in support of what God is doing. Don't tell me what God can't do. Can I brag on God? And in the email that they sent, the email was sent in a chain of emails that included the original email from the opposition outlining their strategy to oppose the church. So now I know everything y'all up to. If you stand still, the Lord will show you what you need to see. If you stand still, the Lord will send the aid that you need. If you stand still, the Lord will fight your battles. And I heard the Lord say to me, and I share with you, this is just the first. Going to be more opposition along the way. And the same thing that got us through Thursday will get us through the ribbon cutting. Stand still. Now, it's not just a word for the church. For somebody, it's personal. Endure the evil, because God's on your side. You don't need to get even, because whenever you move in revenge, you're exiting God out of the situation. Stand in a loving, Christ-like place and watch how the Lord will show up. Not at first, but before it's over. Let's pray. Our Father God, here we stand in the shoes of Jehoshaphat. Somebody knows what it's like to have